rather be reading.
To We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Lia and
I'm Anita. I'm back.
What? I was fully expecting you to say Jerrica there, but now I see that it's you. I've been so busy, I didn't even look up. I just look up and I'm like, what? You're not Jerrica.
No. Slightly different.
Just a little bit, tiny bit.
Like a little drop.
Yeah. Like minor details. Really. Different countries,
different nationalities. One's married,
Swedish,
unmarried.
right?
But now I'm Swedish. It's all good now.
Everyone's Swedish
it's fine.
now.
Yeah.
So good. So how are you? It's good to have you back.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited to be back. It's like, whoop, whoop. Nice.
Yeah. Jerrica is on a vacation. She's visiting her family in Canada, so that's why she's out for this week, and that's also why, if you listen in, you're going to get a very super extra special bonus pod next week, which I understand if it's going to be a little bit difficult to listen to it because it is sort of very rambly and incoherent, but it's also very cute. So
should I ask how much wine was involved with that one?
No wine.
What?
It was juice boxes more than wine.
So sugar.
But if you want to listen in next week for a very, very, very special, rambly and incoherent bonus episode, it's short and sweet and talks about no books.
Wait, you're having a book pod about no books?
Well, we tried to talk about our favorite books, but it turned out some people didn't have any favorite books, and it was a bit. You're gonna have to listen in to this.
Now I want to know which one of you two this was. So I'll be listening in next week. Find out this mystery.
But I have recruited Anita's help here because obviously I can't take this long of a break from reading. This doesn't work.
No.
And
I don't even know.
If you've been following Twitter, you also know that Jerrica's been locked out of her Storytel and her Scribe. So clearly she is not reading either, which means I'd had to get your help here. So you introduced me to a new author that I'd never read before. Her name is Rin Chupeco.
Yes.
And she's a Chinese-Filipino writer. And she's mostly known for her Bone Witch.
Yes,
trilogy.
Which is the first book I read and suggested to you.
Yeah, and I did read the first book of the Bone Witch. I didn't really get into it. I was listening to it, and I think that was partially my problem because it's. I feel like these are books that should probably be actually read and not listened to.
Yes, and because it's a fantasy genre area that is not always the common thing, fairies and vampires. The creatures are a bit hard to imagine. So if you're listening to it, you don't really allow yourself to create the world.
But I also think what's really cool about her books, and I'm starting to see a trend here, is that all of her fantasies are tied in actual folklore from different countries. So the Bone Witch was
Filipino
folklore. And the book that we read, The Girl from the Well, which is one of the book I tried to get Jerrica to read for Spooktober, and she said, God no, this looks horrible. I don't want to read this. This looks scary. So I then had to get Anita to read it because I'm like, she recommended this author.
Scary things.
She's going to read this book with me, so I don't have to read it by myself. And if it's really spooky, then at least I will have someone to be scared with.
Yeah, you can text me in the middle of the night saying, I heard a noise. Exactly. It's all good.
So we read The Girl from the Well by Rin Chupeco, and this book is based on Japanese folklore, or actually the story of Okiko.
Yes.
Who is the girl from the well, who's well known from what I understand. Japanese.
The spirit.
Ghost story, and she's also the source for like all those Japanese horror movies like The Ring and these kinds of things. So if you've seen crawling out of the TV looking scared, that's Okiko.
Yeah. Taking revenge on people. Yep.
Yeah.
Okiko. There she is.
So yeah, that's what we read, and it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be.
No, but I do think that if this ever gets turned into a film,
they
can make it bone-chilling, hair-raising,
Oh, for sure.
People, that feeling that people walk across your grave, that you'll get that in this a lot if they turn it into a film. It's got all the right things for that to happen.
And I believe The Girl from the Well is actually Rin's first novel, which is like amazing.
Yes.
I am I continue to be ever so impressed by people who just write debut novels
That's
are just
an amazing debut novel.
I'm not entirely sure, so I might be just speaking out of my behind here, but I'm gonna go ahead and guess that this is her original duology, because it's actually a two-book series. Book. It's The Girl from the Well, and then it's The Suffering, which is the second book. And because I can't stop at book 1, I did with The Bone Witch, but usually I can't stop at book 1. I kept reading. So I have actually finished The Suffering as well.
And this is the part where I remind Lia that if she ruins book 2 for me or gives any spoilers, I might set Okiko on her.
And this is where I remind Anita that we spoil everything on this podcast. So tough. Should not have agreed to this. Should have read faster. Oh my god. Should have rather been reading.
Why was I like working? I should have been reading.
That's what I'm saying.
I know the MO here.
I had time to finish 2 books. What the fuck were you doing?
Clearly not reading.
Clearly not reading. That's for sure. But The Girl from the Well is... it jumps a little bit in who's the main character in this book.
When it starts, you're not 100% sure who it is that's telling the story.
No, and it's also, I found it a little bit difficult to follow. Even when I was reading, this was a book where I actually had to go back and reread pages, because as soon as my mind started drifting, and I came back, I was like, I have no idea what's going on. Something must have happened. When did I start zoning out? Okay.
I listened to it and I had to go back a few times as well, because the story is told from the first person. Yeah. Which I also think is quite difficult to write in, the whole book being in the first person. So a lot of the times the person telling the story will just say he or she and it takes you a couple of paragraphs before they'll mention which person she's talking about. And
it's not just that. It's also because it's first person narrative, and she will refer, because it's a girl telling. We figure this out quite quickly. And I mean, spoiler, it's Okiko. It's Okiko who's the narrator. But she meets these other people like Callie and the young girl in her class. Yes. And she refers to both of them as the girl. Yes. Which I was like, which girl? Yeah. Which girl are we talking about here? Is it the young girl or is it the teacher's assistant girl? And Callie, honestly, she's like 18 or something like that. I thought she was like much older when I started reading it. Like I got the feeling that she was like 24 or something like that. But I also just about to go off to college.
But also I loved, speaking of Callie, I loved her character development in the story. She comes in as like a person that Okiko mentions, and you don't think that they've really got a role in the story when she first talks about her, and then as it develops and how Callie, like the things she does is like, whoa, amazing.
So we get this from Okiko's point of view, and we're somewhere in America, I can't remember where. It's like this small town, Apple something. I feel like it's called Apple something.
It is, but I can't remember the name.
But it's got apple in it. it's got apple something. And it starts with this family moving there with this young boy.
Yes, the father and the son.
Yeah, and his name is... What is his name? Tarquin is his name, Tark. And he's moved there with his dad. And Tark has moved many, many times. This we figure out. And Tarquin's mum, there's something going on with her. She's been institutionalized. Yes. And... he's also afraid of her. And there's something going on with Tark. We figured this out quite early because he's got these weird tattoos on his arms that are undulating and moving.
And he always tries to cover them up.
And he tries to cover them. And you can tell who knows him and who's used to the tattoos. Like his dad doesn't even reflect on them. And Callie is also... She notices, but she's not bothered by them. Like they've always been there. Or they've been there since he was about 5 when his... mother allegedly had him tattooed. Yes. And he has no memories of basically anything before the age of 5.
Yeah, it's like his mind got wiped.
Yeah. And strange things happens around Tarquin.
Yes, weird things happen. Like
there's been a murder at one point. He's been cleared of it. He didn't do it, but there was a murder.
Suspicion around him.
He was there when it happened, and it's kind of like we know it wasn't him, but. He was still had to be quite thoroughly investigated for it.
And like when we say strange things happen around him, he's the kind of person that will, walk down the street and suddenly a bird drops dead in front of him on the street. Or
in fact, many birds without their heads will crash into the school cafeteria, and then there will also be an earthquake.
So stuff like that. He's a magnet for disaster in a way.
And his mom wants to see him, and this is the thing. So they've just moved there to be closer to his mother, who's in an institution, a psychiatric institution. And Tarquin's dad wants them to go. He wants to take Tark there to see his mother. And Tark is very, very not sure about this because last time he tried to go, she tried to kill him.
Yeah.
And the dad is like, she's much better now. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. You'll see your therapist and then we'll go right after. Yeah. And it's literally right after. It's not like we'll see your therapist and then you can like mellow in your thoughts from your therapy. It's
the dad is
therapy
very
and
much...
then 5 minutes after we're now going to go see your mom because now your mental issues has been solved by this therapist.
Yeah, he's not very... I wouldn't say he's very attuned to his son.
I don't think he's very attuned at all to many things.
No, he's a little bit, I almost want to say he's been traumatized by whatever it is that happened in Tarek's past, and now he's just like stuck in the deer in the headlights mode a little bit and shut down that part of...
I mean, it's upsetting to him that his wife is not well, and it's upsetting to him that his son seems to have no real friends, and that his son seems
all
to
these
not
weird things
work
happen
very
around
well
him.
in school and so on and so forth. But he's very happy. Callie, it turns out, is Tarquin's cousin.
Yes.
On the father's side. So her mom is Tarquin's dad's sister.
Oh.
And she's very close to Tarquin.
She's kind of protective of him too.
Like this is where it got weird out, because she's a teacher's assistant at the middle school.
Yeah.
But I felt like she was so much, like she was described as being older. Like I thought she would be 24, but then she goes off to college at the end of the book.
Because if she is 18, how old's Tark?
Well, he's 15 in the first book.
Oh, so there's only like 3 years difference between them. Because it sounded like 5-6 years difference.
But maybe I'm just not getting my ages right here with the American school system. But she's about to go off to college. And I think you're about 18 or 19 there, aren't you?
Yeah.
When you go off to college. Like, I don't think you're that much older, unless she took a year or something like that.
She took a gap year or...
Because she's working in the school. She's not at school. She's not studying. She is working as a teacher's assistant. So maybe she has like some kind of gap year or something, and she's working as a teacher's assistant. But
I'm a bit surprised if they're just 3 years apart, because the way she is around him, she's very motherly.
But even in book 2, she's still young, because he's 17 in book 2, and she's still very young. Like,
maybe they are like that.
So I don't think it's that much, but maybe 5 years. Maybe she's 20. I don't know. But she's very young. She's much younger than I thought she was, the way she's described.
Yes.
And so she's this teacher's assistant, and Tarquin comes to see her, or she pulls him into the classroom with her class, and one of the girls is like, who's that girl? And she like points and she sees ghosts, and I don't like the woman in black, like I don't.
Yep.
And then it is, she sees ghosts, and she's very
Sandra.
She's very matter of fact.
Sandra or Sally, something with an S.
She's very matter of fact to this girl. She's so like,
she's hanging upside down from the roof. What do you mean? Why can't you see her?
She's standing on the roof, like she's right above you.
The thing
I don't like the woman in black with the mask, and I would be like, seriously, so many of these phrases in this book. When this girl says them, I'd be like, if my kid said this to me, I'd be like, oh God.
Get the salt!
And it's like, I saw this meme where it was like, Mom, can you check under the bed before you leave to make sure there's no monsters? And she's like, no, I don't. I'm not sure I want to see what's under there. Good luck. And then she leaves. And it's like,
that's horrible.
And I read there was another meme that came up. It was like, how depressed are you? And it was like, enough that I keep my head, like my foot hanging off the bed, not even caring what's gonna get it from. And I was like, oh. is
That's
dark
deep.
level. That's like, whoa, you don't even care about the monsters under your bed. Like, I swear, I still jump sometimes up to my bed because I am sure something's gonna grab me from under there.
Okay, you need to start watching more scary things with me. So
I hate scary movies. I hate it. Like, you can ask my husband. He will tell you he loves watching scary stuff with me because I am such a scaredy cat, and I will like
you like jump at everything.
Jump. Me and my daughter, we are like this. She's worse than I am though. Like,
Hiding
she
behind
will
the pillows.
jump for like anything. No, I don't like scary stuff. But
I
there's
love scary
some
things.
phrases in this where with this girl, what she says, and you're like, oh god, if I was in that room, I'd be like, what the fuck? There's
said
a girl.
what hanging from the roof?
There's a drowned girl hanging from the ceiling with like a half.
Yeah, her neck looks funny.
Me,
Why?
like,
That's how she
half
died.
Decomposed face. Like, oh, great. Fantastic. And you don't like the woman in black that's hovering behind Tarquin with her mask falling off? No?
Yeah.
You don't like her? She seems to have malicious intent. All right, goody. Good.
Yeah, she's not nice.
Let's never ever come back to this room ever again because clearly this room is haunted.
Yeah, because the woman in black, she
Yeah.
is one of the spirits that seems to be around Tark a lot.
Yeah. So basically,
And then
we're going to be
Okiko follows
spoiling
them
this.
around.
We're going to be spoiling this because
Yes.
Okiko it starts with Okiko finding a person, like a man, and he has children hanging off of his back.
Yes.
And I thought this was very interesting because basically, if you are a horrible, horrible pedophile or child murderer, these souls of these children you kill, they are going to be bound to you by like a rope around
Yeah, like
their
little
arms
threads. Yeah,
that is attached to your arm,
And
and,
it's
they will
actually such a
basically
scary
hang off your
concept
back.
to think about.
So she sees this person, and then she goes in. It because it starts with that. She's in this disgusting apartment with this foul
What is he?
man.
That's not the smiling.
No, that comes after. But like
That's
the foul, like the fat and disgusting one, and then she does this sound, like this gurgling sound in her throat, and then she shows up, and then she kills them. And when she kills them,
Yes.
they basically look, even though they're just brand new dead, they look like they've been decomposing for like 4 days, and they look like they were drowned.
Even though there's no water around
Nothing.
at all. Because like Okiko, yeah, she's scary as, but she's like an avenging spirit.
She is, because
And
then
she takes out men or people, women, whatever.
it's mostly men. Let's be realistic here. Like honestly, we can clearly say not all men, but still,
It's
when it
mostly
comes
men.
to this, it's like 99% men.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and say men this time.
Pedophiles and child killers.
Yep.
That's who she avenges. So I'm like, Team Okiko. Like,
Oh yeah, for sure.
100%.
And then when she kills this man, she takes the souls of these children that were
Yes, which is
attached, and
beautiful.
they are now freed from him, and she gets them, like she helps them through to like the other side,
Yeah,
kind of
she
thing, and they
releases
become like fireflies, and she becomes like,
And
and
I
they
thought-
float up. It's so beautiful.
I
Like,
thought it
all
was
of that.
such
It was so
beautiful,
nice.
symbolic,
And then-
pictures.
And then she
It's gorgeous.
sees
Gorgeously
Tark
written.
as he's moving into his house, and she's immediately like, there's
Drawn to-
something here.
Oh.
And she also sees this woman in black quite a lot. And then she sees, as he's unpacking, she sees the smiling man in his car studying Tark.
Mm-hmm.
And the smiling man is another pedophile.
Yes, and as she pays attention to him, she
and-
notices the children attached to him.
Yeah, and he has lots of them.
Yes, and
Boys and girls.
I found it cool the way that she, because it's the first person, Okiko counts everything.
Yeah.
So she'll describe what she's seeing. I saw the smiling man, 1 boy, 2 boy,
Yeah.
1 girl, and then she keeps on telling the story, and then she keeps counting.
And everything is good except
I love
for 9.
the way that it's no nines.
No nines.
No nines.
No nines.
But I love
Bad
that
things happen
Okiko
at
does
nine.
that, and she
Yeah.
describes everything. It's like literally you're hearing her thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
It's not written like, and then she thought. It's like her thoughts are on the paper, so it feels like you are reading her mind.
And I think, did you read it, or
I
listen
listened to it.
Because I was wondering, because when I read it,
Mm-hmm.
and all of these counting and the thoughts in her head are in cursive.
Yes.
So I was just wondering how that was done in the audiobook. Like,
So she would, for example, say, I saw the smiling man in the car. And then she goes, and there was children on his back, one boy. And then it's like a little pause, and she goes, one boy, one girl, one 12-year-old, one 4-year-old, 16, 2, black, white, Asian.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just these thoughts, and then it'll be a small pause, and then she'll continue with the rest
Because
of it.
when I was reading it sometimes, because they literally come in the middle of sentences, I'd be like, hang on, okay, continues, okay, reading this bit, and then that's where, because I'd just keep reading, but I was
but it's
wondering
like
how
this
that was
intrusive thought.
Yeah.
Almost in
it was
between her
really
storytelling.
cool. And then when it's 9, bad things happen.
I also think Okiko has OCD.
Yeah, she does. A little bit. But
with the counting of things. She counts everything.
But just to make sure there's not 9.
Yes.
But she sees the smiling man, and he's got a lot of kids attached to his back, like boys and girls. And he's
nearly all the
also
ages.
drawn to Tark, because Tark is... his dad is American, his mom is Japanese.
Yes.
So he is a mixed, Caucasian,
heritage,
Japanese with blue eyes. So this is quite
So imagine
unusual,
a little bit
like,
Keanu Reeves with blue eyes.
but like I think it's a little bit startling the way he looks. He's probably quite like pretty
An
I would
attractive
assume.
person.
But I mean, he's young, so he would be like a beautiful child kind of thing. And I think this is what the smiling man, he sees him, and this is what he's looking for. He's a little bit older than the kids hanging off his back, but he is beautiful. So he's like drawn to him. And the smiling man comes back. He tries this girl that sees ghosts from Callie's class. She's the daughter of the police chief.
Yeah.
And when there's been an incident is that the school, or is it when he's...
But I wonder, isn't this... I don't think they ever told us what the smiling man does, but he feels like a reporter. Because he's always where things are happening.
I don't know. I think
Or
is he just a
neighborhood creep?
I think it's just that. I think he moves around enough. I think he has enough money, and he moves around
because that's what
enough
it is, isn't it?
to-
Like he changed his identity, and he like skipped between different
I don't
American
even think he had to
states.
change his identity. I think he's wealthy enough, probably living off his whatever money. He doesn't work probably. I don't know, but he's like he will be gone before they catch him. So this.
Yeah, he's like a. What do you call them?
He's like that awful fucking Golden State Killer. The
what do you call it? The people who just move between the.
He's
you know the word I'm thinking of.
yeah, it's like not a vagrant.
Vagabond.
He's a vagabond. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's there's been this incident, and the police is there, and there's lots of people there, and the police's daughter, she's the one who sees ghosts, Sandra, Sally, whatever her name was, and she was supposed to stay in the car, but it's warm and she's bored, so she goes and sits on this bench.
And she's a pretty precocious child. So.
Oh my god, like the things that she says. And then the smiling man, he sees her and opportunity and all of this and that. So he goes and he tries to kind of get her, and then she's like starts talking to him, and she's like one of those kids that will ask those questions where you're like, what the fuck?
Like, I'm sorry, what? How old are you?
I guess I can answer these questions. No one ever asked me this before. And she's that kind of question child.
That's just so straightforward.
And then she will go like, what about your friends? This guy, he's like, what friends? The children hanging off your back. And he's like,
what?
And then he like gets his little tissue, like his napkin
with the chloroform
from his pocket. He's like, I'm gonna have to take her now, like she sees shit. And then something happened, and
her mother comes
closer, and he disappears. So she ends up not being taken. But yeah, so the smiling man, he is vile. And
he
awful.
is. He just sounds like this real slick, greasy.
Disgusting. I mean,
person.
He's a pedophile. It's nothing, and a rapist, and
there's nothing
murder.
Worse than that.
Yeah,
they
do tell us his story, because it's first he tried to rape a 12-year-old, and she told on him.
Yes,
and that's how he learned that killing them
is how you get away.
Cannot speak.
Yeah, their children tell no tales.
Yeah,
how gross is that statement right there?
He so back to Tark. So Tark goes to the counselor, the therapist, and then right after his dad's like, let's go see your mom. And they go to this psychiatric hospital, and the mom is in a room with these Japanese screens that kind of covers the door. So Tark has to stay behind it. So his dad goes in and she's good with the dad. It's fine. And then when Okiko describes this room, it's like she's sitting in this chair and she's like surrounded by these dolls, and I'd be so freaked out.
I mean, have you ever been in a room with a lot of porcelain dolls?
I'm not like, I know people really don't like dolls. Like I'm okay with dolls. But some, like too many, I don't like it.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't get creeped out by it, but
I think I would
strange.
if there was lots and lots of dolls. Like, I don't think I could ever be in one of those houses where people have like just dolls everywhere. I'd be like, one of these are moving at night. Like, you just know that at least one of these fuckers get up when you're not looking and it's just patting around your house.
You're gonna wake up and this little porcelain hand is moving the hair off your forehead.
Oh God, no! That would be so terrifying.
You guys should. I wish I had a video of her reaction when I just described this.
Over that any day, man. That is terrifying. She's in this room full of all these Japanese dolls.
Oh.
And then she hears that Tark is there, and immediately she tries to kill him again.
Yes.
And then there's the wrong number of dolls, isn't there? And then Okiko loses her shit.
Yes. So something about.
Well, something happens anyways, and they have to squirrel him away again.
Because also the mum is like, why is he here? Because we don't know at this point why the mum acts like this, but later it does get clarified.
Yeah.
And also the significance of all the dolls and stuff, and then it sort of does make sense why she was freaking out. But because she was sort of talking to him first, like normally. And then I don't know if she saw one of the tattoos on his hand, and then it like triggered it, and she just went cuckoo. Yeah.
And then is it the incident in the cafeteria when all the birds without heads come flying in, and that's where he takes off in school?
Yes.
And he runs out, and Callie's following him. And Okiko keeps showing her the way. Like, she keeps seeing Okiko and she keeps showing her which way he went. And that's when she sees Tark getting into the car of the smiling man.
Yep.
And she jumps into a taxi and they follow. And they get to this weird house and at the end of a cul-de-sac with like a hidden driveway and all of this and that. And she tells the taxi driver to call the police on the radio. And she goes in after Tark and the smiling man. And she finds them in the basement because Okiko keeps showing the way. And he's put, like, Tark is sleeping, he's been put chloroform on him and he's out cold. And the smiling man, he basically grabs Callie and he's like, well, you're a little too old for me, but I guess I can enjoy torturing you and killing you anyways.
I'm sure I can make an exception.
Yeah, disgusting. And then he cuts her. No, he doesn't cut her. He's about to cut her. Or does he cut her?
I think he
cuts her. Because the woman in black comes out and she's the one who cuts her.
Yes.
And then she holds because she basically possesses Tark, the woman in black.
Yes, which is then sort of revealed to us when we see what the woman in black does, because she needs these tattoos on Tark are seals.
To keep her trapped.
That are basically like locks.
Yeah.
And they're blood ties. So the woman in black cuts Callie and uses her blood to unlock one of the seals so that she's trying to escape Tark.
Yeah. And
Tark's her prison. And isn't that sad? The little girl said that. She's like, the woman in black is angry and I feel sorry for Tark. And Callie's like, why do you feel sorry for him? She's like, because the woman in black is in a prison. And it's like, what do you mean it's a prison? It's like, Tark is the prison. And Callie's like, what?
Yeah. So this is where it all kind of unravels. They're stuck there. And then Okiko comes and she takes out this smiling man. And then the police, when they come down there, they're like, what the fuck happened here? Because the smiling man's been stuffed in like a hole that's much too small for him.
Underneath the bed that it's not humanly possible for him to be in.
And Callie's like tied up and Tark is like tied up and neither one of them did it. So the police is like, what in the fucking world happened here kind of thing. And as they're healing, and then after they're healed, they go to Japan.
Yes, because then
Callie has this work abroad program with college or something like that. So she's going to go and spend a few months in Japan.
Because Callie went and saw Tarek's mum.
Yeah.
And then Tarek's mum, sort of in her weird delusional wonder world that she lives in, explained to Callie what the significance is of the dolls, because the mum used
And
to
the
be
seals.
and the seals,
Yeah.
because the mum used to be part of this group in Japan. These
They're like priestesses,
almost like
like Nikos.
priestesses,
Yeah.
Nikos, that take evil spirits out of people and put them
Or
into
in
these
the world.
in the world.
Spirits, and they trap them in these dolls.
In the dolls, yes, and
then
they seal
you
them in there.
exorcise the dolls basically, and you will then free the spirit. Like
Yes.
you will neutralize the spirit.
Yeah,
I
the
guess.
spirit gets sent to the ever after, and the human is, or if there's a human involved, gets released.
Yeah.
So the mum tries to tell Callie that she's so sorry for what she did to Tark, and that the reason that Tark was used because he was so pure and so wonderful and the perfect
Because the
vessel.
spirit that is trapped in Tark was too strong, so no doll could hold her. They
Yes.
needed something else and as the story unravels, we find out that the spirit was actually
The sister.
Tark's aunt. Yeah, so the mother's sister. And she'd been using her own body as a prison, and then she'd taken too many spirits in, so
Yeah.
she'd been slowly eroded to the point where
The
she
spirits
could
took
be
over her.
possessed.
Yeah.
And then she was too strong to contain this
So yeah.
in a doll. So that's why Tark.
Then
is
she
there.
became this malevolent spirit.
Yeah.
But then, so Tark's mum tells Callie that he needs to go back to this temple
Yeah.
where the other Mikos are.
Yes.
She says he needs to go back where it started.
Mm-hmm.
And then we realized that the reason why Tark can't remember anything before the age of 5 is because his mum took him back there when he was little.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that time that the sister was taken over by all these spirits and they couldn't get her exorcised.
Mm-hmm.
So then the mother decided to sacrifice Tark as a vessel
Yeah.
to capture this spirit, which is quite horrific.
But then she says this: if I fail, Tark must go back to where it starts.
Yes,
And then
that's true. I forgot about that
in
part.
the evening, that same night after Callie leaves,
Yes.
she tries to do the ceremony with the dolls to trap the woman in black in one of the dolls instead, and it goes
Yes.
horribly wrong.
Horribly
And it
wrong.
actually erodes one of the seals even more. Mm-hmm. So the woman in black has
More freedom.
And as she has more freedom, Tark gets sick.
Yes,
He gets
she starts to
extremely
like drain his
tired,
body.
and he sleeps all the time. And after the mums died, she's been cremated, and in her will is said that she needs to have her ashes spread at this spot in Japan. So the dad decides to bring Tark back to Japan and to do this, but Tark is really, really sickly in Japan, in Tokyo, and they go to all of these doctors and nothing helps. And Callie is also in Japan, but she's there on
sort
her
of navigated
work program.
Yeah, she wangled a way to get an exchange program to go to Japan to do this historical
Well, I mean, it
tour
was
thing.
like, I think it's a college thing, so it's like an abroad program where
Yeah.
you spend like a month or two in a country, and she chooses Japan, so
Yes.
she gets to go there. And she makes plans with Tark's dad to meet up where they're going to go to this temple.
where
or
the
to
Mikos
this-
are,
yeah.
where Tarek's mum and aunt come from.
And they make their
Because
way
their
there.
dad used to be the doll maker, right? Their dad used to be the one to make these dolls.
Yeah, Yukiko's mom, yeah.
Yes.
Tark's grandfather, not Tark's dad. 'Cause
No.
He is,
No, I mean-
he is very unspiritual.
Oh gosh, yes. Never mind. I meant the two sisters, their
Yeah.
dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they go to the
Shrine.
I mean, it's close to the volcano, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's where they're going in Japan, and they go to this temple. Well, with this shrine, which is not very populated, and
No,
not a lot
it's
of tourists
very,
go
like,
there. It's very
rural.
remote, and it's self-sufficient as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they stay there, and the Mikos are prepping to do the ritual. And Tark's dad goes away he has to go back to work or
Tarek's
something
dad
like that.
gets
So
called away, but because Tarek is at this temple,
yeah, he lets
his health
Callie.
improves so much. So Callie says she'll stay with him until
Yeah.
he's better. And the head Miko,
Yeah,
she said that they can help him.
yeah.
They try and convince the dad to leave Tarek with them because they can help him get better.
And then they try to do this ritual to
Tarek,
exercise.
he volunteers. He realizes what goes on.
No, but they
doesn't
try
he
to do
start
no
talking
because
to Okiko.
they try to do this ritual to. I mean, he is talking to Kiko a little bit already, but he's trying to do this ritual. They're trying to do this ritual to get the spirit out of Tark and put her in a doll. Mm-hmm. And they cleanse the whole thing, and everything needs to be pure when they do this ritual. And as they're doing it towards the end, everything starts going wrong, and it's because when Callie and Tark were kidnapped by the Smiling Man, he took. The woman in black used Callie's blood to put on one of the seals.
Yes, and Callie wasn't.
And therefore, Callie is
purified.
not pure.
Yes.
So she should not have been allowed to watch the ceremony at all. And she didn't realize the significance. And I guess no one asked her. So it's like a mistake. But people die. There's a couple of
the woman in black goes.
And the woman in black does.
She gets all her revenge out.
And then Okiko, together with Callie, managed to trap her. Finally.
Because Callie, this is the part where I was like so impressed with Callie.
Yeah.
Because she realized that Okiko's trigger is 9.
Yeah.
So she goes and she crawls around because even like her leg is super badly hurt and she can barely like walk because of how the woman in black has injured her, and things were falling.
Half the temple
collapse on top of them, and then she crawls around and she gets 8 dolls, but she names them as sacrifices because there's power in words. So she says sacrifice, first sacrifice, second sacrifice, and then she points at the woman in black and says the 9th sacrifice, which means that it belongs to Okiko now.
Yeah.
So then Okiko could go in and destroy her.
Yeah.
So
and then she gets trapped in a doll.
Yes. Yeah.
And they can finish the ritual. But what happens then is they get taken to the hospital, and then as Tark gets to see Callie again, she realizes that in the woman in black's place, because Tark has been possessed, basically, he's been in prison for 10 years or so.
Yeah.
He is now susceptible to possession. Mm-hmm. So Okiko has volunteered to step in and basically possess him. So no one else can.
Yes.
And this is where book 1 ends.
And 2 starts.
And 2 begins.
But I love the way that book 1 ended with Callie floating in that river, and then she sees the spirits like being released, and then she tries to convince Okiko to go with them.
Well,
but Okiko says no, she can't, and they don't tell you that at that stage. But then now it makes sense if she volunteered to stay with Tark, because she's very protective of Tark, which all the other Mikos was
basically
pretty.
Basically, what she's saying, she gives up her
chance for
peace for the life of one boy.
Yes, which is beautiful, because it doesn't really. Do they explain in book 2 why she feels that way about Tark?
I mean, they explain a lot in book 2.
Okay, good.
So, but I promise I won't spoil anything. I can just give you like the little blurb of book 2. So in book 2, we jump we jump in the future, so Tark is around 17.
Forward.
Yeah. Oh. And in this time, Okiko still obviously has to get her vengeance on with people, but now she can't be too far away from Tark, so he now has to go with and wait in the car, which is hilarious.
Like, okay, Okiko, go get that pedophile. I'm just going to sit here, okay, with my Starbucks.
Pretty much, yes. There's a little bit of romance going on in it, and then there's
is Callie's son in the second book?
Callie is in the second book, and then there's this film crew, the Ghost Haunt, that decides to visit the suicide forest in Japan. And Miko, the young one, the one that speaks English, Kazura, is it Kazuga?
Kagura.
Kagura, yeah.
Yes.
Kagura is going to be their guide, and they're looking for a hidden, like a lost village in the suicide forest. That is like a legend. There's a village there.
See, now I want to read it to know how much it ties in with the film that they made about the suicide forest.
So they go there and then they disappear. So then Tark and Callie will go and try to find them. They're part of like the search party, and then a lot of stuff happens. A lot of stuff happens.
Oh, this sounds so good! I can't wait. I can understand why you flew through it. Yes.
Yes, very much so. So would you recommend this book?
Absolutely, 100%. If you are a person that enjoys the next dimension, ghost stories based in truth or real folklore, 100%. 100%. It's so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. I also would definitely recommend it. I thought it was an excellent book. I thought it was very well written. And I've been struggling a little bit with the teeny books, like the very young heroines with the, like, if you listen to this pod for a while, you know that I Legendborn and all of this. I was like, ugh, shoot me, why? Like, why is she special? Why? You know, like,
why is this 15-year-old so significant?
Exactly. And it's like, you know, that one honestly kind of had a good reason for it though, but that's besides the point. I would have I get a little bit fed up with this, so it was kind of nice to have a story that's tied into actual like folklore and in a way, like, I believe more that ghosts are possibly real than vampires or werewolves or you know, anything with dragons is kind of out for me, like.
But I also believe that the possibility of ghosts being a real thing, if we go into the fantasy genre, is 100% more likely than a vampire or a werewolf or a dragon. Yeah. So
particularly a fucking dragon.
What?
Dragons turning into humans and back in? No.
She's just...
You've lost it.
It's a no, guys. It's a no from Lia.
Like, this is the torture of, like, Grace and the freaking court charm, whatever they're called, books.
But but also what I loved about the way that Rin writes, I love the way her descriptive language.
Yes.
The way that she describes scenes, and I love the fact that she is bringing a fresh and authentic perspective on the Eastern folklores that we are aware of because they've been a bit whitewashed in the Hollywood movies. But she brings the authenticity back to it and the respect, I think, that those folklore and traditions deserve. Yeah. So I love it.
And I mean, it even explains in book 2, and I'll say it because it's not really a spoiler, why Okiko is in the United States. Oh. And it basically says that why would she want to hang around the place where she was killed?
We didn't talk about that, but the way that she was killed is horrific. And those other those four young men, what they did to that one girl in the apartment, which Okiko took them out. Thanks, Okiko. But it's horrific. So we love Okiko, Team Ren.
For sure.
100%.
So hurry on out and go read this book. It's not her summary, but who cares? Go read it anyways. And if you want to wait until Halloween, I mean, go for it.
Yeah.
It could definitely be a Spooktober. It should have been a Spooktober kind of book. But, I mean, I do like reading these kinds of things in summer because then at least you go out and you're like, yeah, this could not happen here. Look at the sunshine, man.
It's a little bit less scary then.
Yeah. And thank you, Anita, for coming back and
I love it.
Guest hosting.
Anytime. Happy to be here.
Next week you can listen to our rambly incoherent special bonus episode, and after that we will actually take a week off and then we'll be back with new episodes. So until then, thank you for listening and happy reading.
Bye.
Bye. We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica and Lia Sanfö. The music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'drathebereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.